Do you want more? More time, more balance, more love, more sex, more money, more real, and less bullshit? This is the Women Wanting More podcast with Dr. Karen Osborne. Real life, real stories, plus real tips to get you more of what you want.
Have you ever asked yourself this question, sister? With whatever you're going through in your life. Perhaps it could be with something that you were trying to accomplish with a fitness goal. Maybe it is something you're going through with your kids, with your husband, in your marriage, with your business, with yourself. Where you perhaps realize that, hey, this thing I'm trying to create with my business is going to take time. The pieces of my marriage I'm trying to heal will take time. The pieces of me I'm trying to heal will take time. Getting the body I want, getting the energy I want back, like all these things will take time. And then you get to a point and you go, can I please be fucking done now? Please. I know what that feels like. I do. If you've been following this podcast for a while, you know that about 5.5 months ago, I went through an experience on the night of my 49th birthday in the emergency room with an injury where it just... it was the injury that happened, but it wasn't the injury that happened. That was just like the last straw. That was the catalyst that kind of moved me forward and or stuck depending on the day and what I'm experiencing, what I'm feeling. But that's really what started this all. And as I reflect back on this, which is now about May, June, July, August, September, 5.5 months later, almost 6 months later. And I reflect on it and I go, okay, so this feeling I have of like everything seems turned upside down. What I thought to be true doesn't really feel true anymore. What I felt I knew about myself doesn't really seem like me anymore. What I felt I wanted within my business, I've completely paused. I don't know if I'm going back to any kind of coaching at this point, as I feel myself being directed into a different place with this message. And that's not necessarily with coaching. I don't know yet. The feelings I have about myself of this opening up to spirituality and to God and to source and to this more softer side of me, and really examining all the pieces of my tough girl and my bravado and the anger and all that stuff, which is still a piece of me. But I wonder, like, how much of that is really me? And here we are again, like 6 months later, I'm like, do I feel like I'm any fucking closer to the truth of me, of who I am? And there's also the whole other piece of this, which is like, okay, wait a second. What the fuck? Like, am I just going through this big dramatic thing right now? Like, come on, Karen, like, get it together kind of thing. Like, can't you be done with this stuff yet? And I wonder if my husband feels this way. And I wonder if friends who know my story feel this way. And I wonder if, I feel this way. Where I literally am like, God, can I please be done with this now? And I know that however form and however this kind of comes out, it's funny because as soon as I even like say those words, I literally in my mind can hear someone just kind of like a knowing laughter of like, oh, that's sweet, Karen. Yeah, there's no timeline for this, sweetheart. And the more that you try to control it and think that it's done is actually when you're really close to being done. That perhaps that's not the question that you need to be asking. And perhaps the seeing this as something like a check, I'm done, let me move forward with my life right now, is not the way this needs to be looked at. And that perhaps in the impatience, the can't I be done with this yet, this is where more things need to open up, not to be like a closed book and then it's done. And as much as I do take a look at this and I say, okay, some of this is, I'm like a year from 50, although I don't really have that much of a thing about age, but I don't know, maybe I do. Absolutely a piece of this is menopause. Sister, I don't know what stage you are in your life when you go through menopause, believe me, it'll be like, what the hell? It kind of almost feels like, imagine if you're like, when you're PMSing, but it's like all the time. And it's really intense. all sorts of shifts with hormones. I know that it's also a point where I feel like I am being directed to deliver a different message. Yes, it's still through this podcast, but I feel like it's written. I'm being guided to write this book right now. And I'm sitting down and I'm writing 20 minutes every single day, even though I've been on again, off again, on again, off again. I'm like, I'm on 20 minutes a day. I can do 20 minutes a day. Like, it happens daily. Started yesterday, she says confidently, in day 2. Day 2. But I'm telling you, like, that's it. I had a good conversation with a friend of mine through Voxer, and she's like, Karen, like, just so much, like, she wrote her book. She's like, literally 15 minutes a day. Stop seeing it as, like, you have to have these big chunks of time in order to sit down and write. Like, just write. That's it. Just write each day. That's it. It'll all come together. But this feeling of, can't this be done? Where I feel I'm like, okay, it's like I'm coming along this side of the mountain. I'll be like, I'm like, workouts feel good. My energy for the most part feels good. And then this like crashing kind of like just sadness and like, what is the next thing? And where is this going? And a very, very odd feeling in my life. Like it's, the last kind of like big shift that I had was when my husband and I with our 2 kids moved here to Victoria. And we decided to close the doors of our chiropractic office after being on the market for a year, not selling, feeling this real pull inside of us individually and then together as a couple and as a family of like, we need to leave. This piece of chiropractic, which was never going to be a past chapter, is now becoming a past chapter and it's time to move forward. And so we made the big leap. We lost a lot of money just closing the doors of the office. We took that loss because we knew that like this is where we're being directed. This is what the voice inside of both of us is telling us to do. Sold our home, moved to Victoria, had only been here a handful of times, like 3. And made that big leap and left the practice and what we knew and had been a piece of our life for 14, 15 years and opened up a whole new chapter. And now there's the same shift that's coming, except the end point of it is not so clear. Like I can't even see it outside of, okay, so you'll have this book. Then what? I've definitely over the last couple of years, I've gotten very, very good about being very present, but still cognizant of kind of like what's coming up, right? Like I'm doing this work right now for like, I'm here, I'm in the present moment, just like I'm recording this podcast. I'm right here with you right now, sitting in my office, looking outside. It's an overcast day in here in Victoria. Can't really see the ocean, actually. It's almost like a little foggy out there. You can't really quite see it. Got my chai tea. Like, I'm good. I'm just here right with you here right now. But yet, when I take a look at book and the direction women want tomorrow, like, so what will happen for the book? I don't know. Will there be coaching after that? Like, where will women go from there? Like, what will be the next step after reading the book for women that want to kind of continue on this path? I don't know. I don't know. But I do know this, sister. I know that the more that I try to say, can't this be done already? Can't this be over with? Haven't I kind of like been through enough like stuff and like, are there really any more tears inside of me to come out? I guess there is. But it's when I get to that place of thinking like there is this timeline and now it's gone past. Like, okay, it took the summer to kind of figure, and then September hit, and we are in the middle of November. Like, shouldn't I have this shit dialed down by now? But the more that I try to push that, the further away it seems I get from finding any sort of truth, resolution, peace in this entire process. And the one thing that I know that it's going to set me free with this, the one thing, sister, that will set you free and wondering if the work that you were doing to create a result in your life or whatever is happening with you, whether you've had a major upset, like maybe going through a divorce, or there's been a death in your family or a close friend, a challenge with your kids, a challenge with your own health, is at the moment that you simply decide to trust this and to surrender to what's going on. Like that is the time that you will be free from this need to know, from this need to control, from this need to like, come on, time's a ticking. You're fucking wasting your life right now. See, if you're someone like me, sister, who's been like, just like, go, 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 literally for the majority of my life, I've never had a time since the age of 8, I kid you not, from my first paper route, I have earned money ever since that time. And here I am now at 49 and, you know, thankful that I have a husband that provides for us, but it feels very odd for me to be not earning money. Like I don't get it. I'm not a stay-at-home mom. And if you're a stay-at-home mom, sister, I bow down to you. This is not a conversation about that. There's no right or wrong. I know who I am when it comes to that, and I'm not a stay-at-home mom. I'm just not. There is a place for me creating and producing that I need to have this space each day, which actually makes me a really good mom, which makes me a really great wife, which makes me a very happy Karen. And so where do I fit in all these different pieces and parts of my life? I don't know. And I don't know when the timeline is. And it's so hard to trust and surrender, isn't it? When we've often been so good at kind of navigating, even with the curveballs that have come out in life of like, okay, got this new thing coming. I need to zig and zag this way. Like, I'm okay. Wax on, wax off. Like, I'm going to adapt to the shit that's coming down in life right now. But right now, it's like, I don't know what that is and when this will be done. You know, we moved here to Victoria. We're like, okay, May 30th is the last day, or May 31st, 2016 was the last day of the practice. Okay. And then we're out, you know, now we sold, and then we sold our house. Okay, we have to be out by the end of July, right? August 1, we got to find a rental because we didn't know Victoria. We haven't bought yet. We're actually still in a home that we're renting right now. We're going to be buying in 2019. Had to kind of get to know the city, and do we really want to stay here, and what community and what schools and all this kind of stuff. And so we're at that point now, but like there was like, okay, and then it's this next thing and then this next thing and this next thing. Well, there is no date yet for any of this stuff. And it's scary. It's hard to trust. It is hard to let go and to surrender. But what I do know is this constant like asking, contemplating, figuring out, feeling guilty about, choosing that emotion, choosing to not let go will not get me any closer to finding out truth and getting close to, we'll say, quote unquote, done, because like we're never really done with anything, right? But I guess the time or the moment that I'm looking for is that for that fog to be less foggy. There's been bits and pieces, just like there might have been bits and pieces for you. It's like maybe if you're going through something heavy with your marriage, right? Maybe there's been just such a disconnection for whatever reason, or things that have happened, and you have a date night and things start to clear up, and then, you know, the fog kind of rolls back in again. You're like, well, I thought we were moving this direction, right? It's like there's going to be this back and forth. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It is part of it. It's normal. And, you know, my whole purpose in putting out this episode today was that I know for so many of you think that the things that you're trying to do, that you should be there, or it should be this way, or it shouldn't take this long. And I'm telling you, I feel you, sister. I feel you. I hear you. But there is a time that it's going to take for whatever it is you're experiencing in your life, and it's not up to us to try to say what that is. That's what I do know to be true. So here's your more tip for today then. What is something that you're taking a look at, something you're trying to accomplish, something that you're moving towards in your life where, yes, you're very much like, it's got to be done at this time, and I should have got it done by now, and you have a big story about it. So number one, I want you to identify what that is. And this is so funny because I did another episode not too long ago, and I think it's important to talk about this again. It was called The Time That Takes is the Time That Takes. Because we are so conditioned about like, you know, things should be a certain way. Really? Says who? Based on what? How do we know any of this, really? I'm going to get shit done. Really? Maybe it's not supposed to be that, and that's why it's not happening. Maybe it's supposed to be this direction. So what is the thing that you're trying to create or move through or heal? And then number 2 is I want you to identify what is the timeline that you'd put onto that, because there's been something, right? Again, back to me, I was kind of like, okay, all this shit happened around the end of May, and then kind of into June, it was like, okay, I'm going to kind of like take this summer to like pour in more self-care to me, reflect on this, journal, read, like just rest, right? And come back in September. And September came and I was like, all right, Karen, what, kids are back at school now, like get your shit together, right? So I had in my mind the summer, so we'll say 2 months or so of like, okay, you have 2 months for this. And then I hit that. And then I was like, oh, well, then I should have this figured out by now. So what is the timeline that you've imposed on that experience, that healing, that thing, that process, the whatever it is that you're moving through in your life? And here's the third part, and this is what I want you to journal about. So what is that one thing? What is the timeline? And number 3, what is it costing you to hold on to that timeline like somehow that is truth? What is that costing you? And I want you to journal this for insight, sister. So, sister, I'm going to ask you a favor. So, number 1, I would love if you go to iTunes, subscribe to this podcast, and leave a 5-star review. If this is of value to you, I would love for you to share it in your own words, to write a written review. If it's not of value to you, then love to you, and you just don't need to listen anymore. But if it is of value, I'm going to ask you to leave that review. And the reason why is there are so many podcasts out there right now. And even though there's thousands of you that listen every single day, there's so many more women that I kind of still believe, I know that I need to reach and I need your help. And your words could be that one thing that the woman reads the review and goes, oh my God, this is great. There's also, you're going to see when you go in, there's some haters out there with me in this podcast. And that's okay. I know it's a part of it. I'm willing to kind of be that shield, that front woman for all that stuff. But I would love for us to drown out that hate with love. And so head over to iTunes, subscribe, leave a 5-star review. Make sure this is number 1. Number 2, make sure to grab your Women Want More Limitation Journal. If you don't already have it, it's about 40 or so left. And I'm sending them out for free. You take care of shipping, which is $9.95, which by the way is not even shipping. But I have you invest a little. And that covers a little bit of cost, but each one costs me about $12 to $15 to send out, and I'm happy to do that. And I've got 2 boxes left, and that's it, no more. So if you would like one, head over to drkarenosborn.com/free journal. And if you don't subscribe to the Women Want More newsletter, do that right now. drkarenosborn.com/action guide. So I will talk to you in the next episode, sister. A life of more is just one step away from trusting and to surrendering the process and the path that you're on and taking off the shackles of a timeline every single day. I love and appreciate you.
To get the show notes of each Women Wanting More episode, including the How to Get More tip, subscribe to the newsletter at drkarenosborn.com/newsletter.